Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to LinkedIn Tuesdays. We're very glad you're with us today. It is February 28th, 2023, last day of February. 2 months down, 10 to go. All righty here. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. For those people on Zoom, if you have any questions about the presentation, please just put them into the chat window. As Kurt takes a break, he'll, I'll be monitoring that and I'll be sure to get those questions answered or asked for you. And for those watching on Facebook, if you have any questions, please just put your questions into the comment field. We'll be sure to get those questions answered for you. Also, this is a great opportunity to connect with other people who are on the call today. So put in your contact information, put in your name, what kind of job you're looking for, a couple target companies, and put in your LinkedIn address so you can connect with everybody else who's out on the call with us this afternoon. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org. In 2012, I launched a second website, careerusa.org, to help those around the United States. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search that you may not know. It is available on Amazon, or if you see me in person, I always have copies. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. The group's been around since the late 1990s, and I'll tell you about our upcoming program at the end of this session. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team. Remember, your LinkedIn profile and your resume isn't going to get you a job. What it will do is it will get you a phone call. How well you practice your interviewing skills, that's what's going to get you your next job. I'll tell you more about the practice interview team at the end of the session. Well, we have 4 outstanding speakers who rotate through on a monthly basis. They share their wisdom and just what they see, what they know about LinkedIn. Today, our speaker is Kurt VandeMotter. He's a retained search executive with Linked Executive Search. So Kurt, thank you very much for being with us, and I will turn it over to you.
Well, hello, everybody. Since last month's meeting, Jeff, I'm a little more live and a little more animated. Some of you that may have, if you were on last month's call, I had some pretty severe computer issues, and you talk about networking, but on that call, I often, offer all the help I can offer you as candidates. But on that call, I threw out one of my desperate needs, and that was I needed an IT person. And sure enough, somebody raised their hand and said that they could help me. And by the end of the week, I had a new computer. And by the end of that weekend, everything was loaded and was, it was loaded, but I was functional 100%. My printer was working, my internet was working, all my files were where I needed them to be. So I don't know that you think of yourself as a connector, Jeff, but I know you do think of yourself as a connector. But that's a true story, and certainly a success story from somebody that is not an IT guy. So that's not why you joined the call today. So let's start talking about LinkedIn Recruiter. I think the very first thing I always want to do, Jeff, is to remind the audience that this meeting is not about me. I have a job. This meeting is about you. And so if you've never attended one of these calls, or you've never had the chance to ask a recruiter questions that you've always wanted to ask, this is a great time to do it. Don't hesitate to raise your hand, and you can interrupt us anytime during the meeting. This is about you all. It's not about me. And I hope that you all walk away with a nugget or two that you can put to work in your search, and will be something that will help accelerate your search if you're actively looking for a new opportunity. So just a little bit about me and what gives me the platform to be able to talk to you all about recruiting and LinkedIn Recruiter. And this is all you're going to get from me on a commercial is that I'm not a young guy, as you can see with my gray hair. I'm actually about to be 64 years old. And I ended my corporate career at the age of 59 or at 49 I was working for a company called Intervoice, and I was hired to help them with their telecommunications introductions to telecommunications providers around the country. And that's what my background had been for a while. In addition to that, I spent about 19 years with in the consumer packaged goods with Pepsi and Dr. Pepper 7-Up. I was never an HR leader. I was always a hiring manager. Sales, marketing, and operations is my background. But I always knew that I had done a pretty good job of hiring. And so when I found myself actively looking for a new opportunity, I reached out to a friend of mine that was in the recruiting business, and he said that he said, Kurt, you'd make a great recruiter. I didn't think twice. I took that to heart. I didn't relocate my family, but I stayed in Dallas 16 years ago, and Forbes recognizes Linked Executive Search as one of the top recruiting firms in the country. And it's not an accolade that you buy. It's an award that's given to you from recruiters, from companies that hire outside recruiters, and from candidates. And so it's quite an honor, and it helps. It certainly helps feed the pipeline as it relates to business development. So that's it about Kurt VandeMotter. If you've got any questions, I'm happy to answer it. But again, this meeting is about you and answering your questions. One of the first places I like to start, and I know Jeff's got a slide, so I'm going to let him pop it up there, is about the differences between recruiters. Not everybody understands what the different recruiters are, but there's really three types of recruiters. There's in-house recruiters, and these are the people that work internally for a company. So I often think of, like an AT&T. AT&T might have 250 recruiters, and there may be people that are working on retail. There may be people that are working on engineering, cell site selection. There may be people that are working on the corporate positions. But the bottom line is these recruiters are very busy. They generally manage a desk of about 30 to 40 job recs at a time. So they're very, very busy, and they have applicant tracking systems, and they know exactly what they're looking for. I think the lesson out of this group is that they're probably the least likely to take a look at a candidate that might be on the peripheral. And that's because they know what they're looking for. They know what the hiring manager's looking for, and they're not going to take a lot of time to try to figure out how you as a candidate might be a better fit in their organization than somebody else, okay? So they think maybe a little less creatively. For those of you that might have been an in-house recruiter, I don't mean to step on your toes or call you out. I hope that you're not offended by that dialogue. These are good people. They work hard. They're smart people. And they do a really good job of filling a lot of jobs. So then there's two outside types of recruiters. There's a contingent recruiting firm. And these are the companies that if, let's say you had any role, it doesn't have to be just a vice president of sales. It could be any role in your organization. It could be a CEO for that matter. You could go out and as a hiring manager, you can sign a contract with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 contingent recruiters. And these people don't get paid anything up front. The only time they get paid is when they bring you the right candidate. So if you've hired 2 or 3 contingent firms to fill that job, you're going to get as a hiring manager, you're going to get a lot of resumes quickly. They may not be the right fit, but a contingent recruiter isn't going to take the time to screen candidates really deeply unless they know that they're doing it contingent and they're the only search firm that's working on it. And that doesn't happen very often. But in that case, that recruiter may spend a little bit more time with candidates. The reason is they're trying to get candidates into the hiring manager's desk so that they can get paid before another recruiter presents you or somebody else. Okay. So then the third one is outside retained search firms. That's what I am. And when a company decides that they want to hire somebody, they have the option between these two search categories. In my case, they pay me a retainer up front, and then they pay me a percentage of the salary, bonus, all that on the back end after I've placed the candidate. Some firms operate a little differently where they take some of the money and after 30 days, they take another chunk after 60 days. There's a lot of different models out there, but the bottom line is they're exclusive. They're getting paid up front to fill that job. And so the company's got buy-in to that recruiter. When I call a company that I'm working for, and I'm trying to get to the CEO, the owner of the company, a COO, they answer my calls. And that's because they know that I'm out there working. And when I'm calling, I'm not calling to see how their golf game was yesterday. I'm calling generally to tell them that I've got an update. I've got some candidates that I want them to talk to. I've got a couple of questions, so forth and so on. So it's a little bit different of an engagement, retained versus contingent, but very similar in a lot of different ways. Does anybody have any questions about any of that?
Nothing in the chat yet.
Got it. Why don't you go ahead and share screen with me?
Yep, you should be able to share.
Got it. Here I go. And let's go here. Can everybody see that?
We can.
Okay, good news. So what you're all looking at here is my dashboard for recruiters, okay? Or for LinkedIn Recruiter. Now, let me tell you a little bit about this product just so that you can understand the differences and the dynamics. So nobody on this call, for any right reason, would ever subscribe to this product. And it's not that it's not a great product, but the bottom line is it's expensive. And you would never get the use out of it that somebody like myself or other recruiters would get out of it. So what happened was, when I go in and pitch companies, one of the questions, if they've never used a recruiter, is they ask us, so Kurt, what's your database? Where do you go to find people? And my reply to that is, well, every search is different, and I go to a lot of different resources. But one of the main products that I do use is LinkedIn Recruiter. So go back in history, and I don't know how many years in history, maybe 12 or 15 years ago, there's a company out there that you'll all recognize the brand. It's Korn Ferry. They not only sponsor big golf tournaments, they are, where I was number 9 in the country, Korn Ferry, that is a worldwide organization and has 10,000 employees, they were number 4. So I'm a single shingle number 9 in the country. Korn Ferry's number 4. So to put in perspective, as far as the prominence of those relationships, but Korn Ferry went to LinkedIn and said, we want to develop a product that we can use to help better track our candidates. Every day that we turn off the lights at Korn Ferry, our database is outdated, because you as a candidate would have sent your resume to Korn Ferry, but it could have been 4 years ago. And in between then you had 3 job updates, but you never updated their database. So they couldn't really keep track of who you are or where you're going and so forth. So that's why it would be a database that they would have used in old times. They would have used it to mine and find people and create conversations. But ultimately, it wasn't a technology that they could rely on their own database. So they went to LinkedIn and said, can you help develop a product? And that's where LinkedIn Recruiter or Recruiter Advanced Search came out of. And so what it is it's a product that's built on a separate set of APIs that sits on top of LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, the database, you as candidates, you as consumers, you as people in the marketplace, you are in the LinkedIn database, and then LinkedIn Recruiter's a set of APIs that are on top of it, and then it plugs into LinkedIn to go gather and search and find candidates. And so when I'm in LinkedIn Recruiter and I click on candidates, candidates cannot see me. I don't show up on anybody's radar. Some of you may raise your hand and say, no, there's a section where I can see who looked at my profile recently, and sometimes I just see a recruiter. I don't see who it is. Well, that is not LinkedIn Recruiter Advanced Search. Those are recruiters that are using a Navigator product or another product, and they've just chosen not to share their name with you, but they're definitely not using LinkedIn Recruiter. And the reason is because when you see what I do here, and we'll do an active search, we'll look in Dallas and do an active search, or somewhere else in the country. I don't care where we do it. You will see that I have the ability to look at a lot of profiles very quickly. So as a search executive, I do a lot of my own research, which means that when I start a new search for a company, a new client, instead of getting somebody else to do the sourcing for me, somebody that doesn't know that client, doesn't know my business, doesn't know the candidates, I take on a lot of the sourcing initially just to get a good feel for what the landscape looks like, to identify the talent pool myself. Is this going to be a hard search? Are there going to be a lot of candidates that I can talk to? And so if every candidate that I clicked on and looked at their profile, if they were to then reply back to me saying, hey, I saw you looked at my profile, Kurt would never get anything done. Okay. There's days that I look at 250 profiles, and if all 250 people or 200 of those people sent notes to me, my inbox would be full all the time. So it would be very, very difficult. So again, you as a candidate cannot see me here. But what I'm going to show you today is I'm going to hopefully demonstrate some tools here that'll make you be able to navigate LinkedIn a little bit better and make yourself more visible. Okay. Jeff made a very, very important point at the beginning of this call. And that is that, you know, your LinkedIn profile can be one of the best out there. And it will make the phone ring. You will get calls from companies, recruiters, inside recruiters, outside recruiters. You will show up on people's profiles if you do some of the things we talk about today. But then absolutely, if you don't have the training and you don't have the competencies to carry on a good conversation and to interview well, you'll never get a job, or you'll never get that job. So these are just pieces of the puzzle. None of them are more important than the other. And I think that they've got to be done in synchronicity. So if you're just actively starting your new search, or you came in 6 months ago and you've never seen this presentation, hopefully, again, you'll have some tidbits to go away with that'll just make you a better candidate than you were before you started the call. So the first area I'd like to point out is this section up here that's called spotlights. And so in my network, okay, there are 110 million people that I have access to, and more, because it's plus, that have indicated that they're open to work, okay? Now, you can do that in two different ways, okay? I had coffee with a friend of mine today, and this particular candidate had been with a company for a very long time, 30 plus years, never had to look for a job, started with the organization right out of college. And whether you call this person, whether you would say that they're embarrassed by the fact that they're unemployed, or they're just in shell shock, there's some issues, you know, that they're having difficulties with, and I understand that. And I applaud this person for, you know, getting her feet back on the floor, taking a shower, getting dressed, coming to a meeting, starting to make these phone calls, because it is baby steps. And I understand that, and I can honestly say those are shoes that I have walked in before. So putting yourself in a positive place is really important to start a job search. If you're carrying animosity, or you're frustrated or mad at your last employer, I don't want to suggest you go spend money on a counselor if that's what it requires to, but get that negativity out of your blood, get it out of your system, get it out of your communication mode, because you've got to be in a really good place in order to conduct a great job search. So in this particular case, this person was really reluctant and just kind of put her head between her hands when I brought up the fact of, you know, you need to put that green umbrella around your green wreath around your head. And I think that it's, you know, certainly it's a mind game for some people, but let me share with you why it is so important. If you are actively looking, again, actively looking, if you're in a job today and you're attending this presentation and you've got a job today, you probably are not in a position where you want to tell everybody in the world that you're looking for a new job, okay? So LinkedIn gives you two options. There's an option where you can check a box that says to recruiters that you're actively, or that you are open to work, okay? So when I, as a recruiter, am in recruiter product, I can see that, but everybody else in your network that goes to your profile, that looks at your profile, they cannot see that, okay? They can't see that you are open to work. So here's the dilemma. You are actively looking, you are unemployed, you're collecting unemployment, or you are looking for a new job actively. And let's say that you, in this particular case, you've got contacts, you've worked in a couple of different states and a couple of different cities, and you decide not to put that wreath around your head. Well, what happens when somebody that you used to work with in Tampa, they were a client of yours, you had a great relationship, you had great success working with each other, and they're just out browsing on LinkedIn one afternoon and they see your profile and you don't have that green wreath, but they're like, hey, Jack was a really good guy. I enjoyed that conversation. I wonder what he's doing. Go on to the next one, right? Probably. But if they see that green wreath and they know that you're looking, they're more likely to reach out and say, hey, Jack, what's going on? I had no idea that you were unemployed. Tell me what's going on. How can I help you? Okay. So it's not only becomes a trigger for recruiters, but it becomes a trigger for everybody else in your network that may not have the ability to see that you're actively looking for a job. And so I just, you're missing out if you don't put that wreath around your head. Get out of yourself, put your personal side aside, and do what's right for yourself. And that's put that green wreath ribbon around your head. Guarantee it. It will generate traffic and calls and activity for you. Okay. Highly recommend it. The next one is just more likely to respond. I only share that with you because LinkedIn tracks you as a candidate or as a person. They track me, they track you, they track Jeff, everybody. And they tell recruiters that these are candidates that are more likely or less likely to reply to your message. I told you I can look at a lot of profiles. I'll show you, there's templates that are set up that I build. So I can look at 100 profiles and send 100 messages in 3 hours, okay? But if I get to a candidate that is less likely to reply to my message, even though it only takes me 2.5 minutes to send that message, I might just skim by the person and go, you know what? I've got other candidates I can talk to. I'm not going to send a note to Bobby, okay? So I encourage you, as an afterthought, can't fix the past, but you can certainly work towards the future. If you're not replying to every message, I encourage you to send a note back to everybody that sends you a message. Thanks, not interested. Great idea. Let me look at it. I'll be back in touch. Thanks. It doesn't have to be a 4-paragraph memo. It can be a 1 word, and that will keep you in the category that you're more likely to reply to messages. Okay. The next ones are past applicants, pretty straightforward. These are people that have applied for jobs that I've had posted before, have company connections. We've worked for the same company in some way. Engaged with my talent brand. These are people that have self-selected. They want to know what's going on. So when I post and make comments and so forth, these are people that are engaged with my talent brand. And internal candidates, I don't really follow that at all. These are the top 2. Open to work and more likely to reply, okay? Or more likely to respond. So Jeff, is there a job, anybody on this call that's, maybe I can help them with giving them a look at the landscape? Is there a title or a job you want to search for today?
Well, I mean, we can put one out. Well, I mean, we'll be looking for these people. So do we want to go to some other city and find a job? Why don't we go to Denver, Colorado, maybe?
Okay, let's go to Denver. I love Denver. That's where my grandson is. So
okay.
Anytime you want to go to Denver, I'm up.
Okay.
Okay.
And why don't we look for somebody in consumer packaging?
Okay. So the industry, we don't have a title yet. That's okay. The industry we're going to look for. So we know the location. You can see where it gives me current or open to relocate. Often select that because now if a company is identified they're in Denver and they will not relocate somebody, then I might not look to the open to relocate. And it gives me the option to look at people that are just looking to relocate to that market. So there's a couple of different triggers, but Englewood is right there in Denver. So is Littleton. So is Greenwood Village is, Berkeley is. So now we've filled out that area. We want to go down to an industry. So I can select workplace types. Okay, so these are people that want to work from, whoops, where did that go? Companies. Oh, hold on, sorry. Okay, so these are people that have said that they are willing to go on site, remote, or hybrid, okay? I generally don't put anything in there unless the company is adamant about that they want people that are only going to come to their office, then that would be a good selection there. I can look at skills and assessments depending on what kind of role we're filling. I can look at actual companies. I can look at schools that they attended. We said that we're going to go into industry. So in this particular case, I'm going to go in industries. Whoop. Sorry. And I'm going to type in consumer packaged goods. Okay. And it gives me consumer electronics, consumer goods, consumer services. Okay. The biggest thing to remember here, everybody, is that when you put your title in LinkedIn, not everybody uses those same titles. Okay. So we'll see that when we go up and build titles, but consumer goods is very similar. Jeff said consumer packaged goods. So that is different than consumer goods. Okay, so it should give me the ability maybe not. No industry found. It doesn't. I thought it gave you the opportunity to add that in as an industry. So I'm stuck with right now. Now I could put in food and beverage. Okay, I could put in food production. Okay, might find some people that way. Okay, so I haven't hit go yet, but right now in my network, I've got 4.9 million people here at the top. Guys, I can't look at 4.9 million people. So I got to figure out a way to tighten this up a little bit. The place to do that is going to be here in the job title. So let's say that we're going to look for a VP of sales. Okay, VP of sales could also be a director of sales. Okay. I don't know what kind of company they came out of. So it could be a director, sales director. It could be director of revenue. Let's see if they've got that in here. Enter. So I can put that in there, director of revenue. Okay. It could also have marketing responsibilities. So it could be director of marketing. Let's go down and let's go business development. Let's keep it in that category. Sales, business development, revenue, sales director. But here again, you were with XYZ company and you had a different title than what LinkedIn has given me the ability to search for. You've got to be cognizant of that. So when you go to my LinkedIn profile, you'll see that for my example, in my summary section, I've got headhunter, executive search consultant, retained search consultant. I've got 20 different words that describe what Kurt VandeMotter is as a recruiter. You may also want to consider adding these other ways and other titles that you could call yourself to make you more searchable through LinkedIn. Where would you do that? You do it in the summary section. You would probably put it in a sentence that would say something like, actively looking for opportunities as a vice president of sales, director of sales, sales revenue executive, and put in a bunch of those titles so that if the recruiter that's doing the search doesn't put in the exact title of what you've done in the past, you become more visible. Does that make sense, Jeff?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, I don't know if I described it right, but I'm going to talk to you about another product in a little bit, and I'm not going to be able to give you a demonstration today, but I'm going to talk to you all about another product that's out in the marketplace my son is involved in, and it's quite extraordinary, and it's going to be a major differentiator in the executive search and the search world. I'll come back to that subject, but now we've gotten some people, we've got titles, we've got locations. We want somebody on site. We haven't given them target companies yet because you can see at the top here, consumer goods, food, beverage. I've only got 222 candidates that I can look at, okay? So I'm gonna go right now, I'm gonna go down and hit search, okay? And let's start looking at candidates. I can look at 222 candidates in an afternoon. So again, we don't really know what the exact job is, but let's just start with Rudolph here, okay? If any of you know these people, I just encourage you to not call them and say, hey, Kurt was looking at your profile and it doesn't look good. So let's just look at Rudolph, okay? So Rudolph is, he's open to work, okay? He's showing me as a recruiter that he is open to work, but he's not put that green wreath on, and he doesn't even have a picture in there. Why doesn't he have a picture? I don't know. But first lesson on Rudolph is Rudolph should go get a picture taken. It doesn't have to go to a professional shop. He can do it with his iPhone. He can do it with his Samsung phone. You can load it in here, but he needs to have a picture in there. And it's not that we as recruiters are looking at that picture to say, is this person this, that, or the other thing? We just want to see a picture. We just want to see what Rudolph, looks like, maybe it's age, maybe it's ethnicity, but we want to see a picture in there. There's no reason in today's world that you wouldn't put a picture in there. So I would put that picture in there, but he's open to work, but he is, it looks like April 22 through the present. So 2 years, almost 3 years, he's been the senior director of sales at Target. So he works for Pepsi and he's calling on large retailers. So he's got lots of strong retail experience. He doesn't give us a lot of information about those jobs. But let's go back up here. This is some of the.
Well, I think one of the reasons he doesn't do a lot of details, he only has 38 connections. So, or those connections with you.
Those are connections with me.
Oh,
those
yeah,
are common connections.
Plus. He does have
Yep.
500 plus. Okay.
Yep. So, but he's not taking advantage of the summary section. So some of the greatest misused space out there, call it retail space if you wanted to, is an opportunity for you to write a summary about who you are and what you do. This should not be a copy and paste from your resume. It should be done in sentences, and it should talk about all the great things that you've done in your career. It can talk about where you want to go. So that's a place you can load more job titles. But the one thing that you definitely, if you're open to work, actively open for new work, this is a place in the summary section where you want to put your cell phone and your phone, or your phone number and your email address. Okay. And I said it, I'm not turning away. This is where you put your cell phone number and your email address. Okay. And I'll tell you why in a minute. People don't like to do that, but guess what? You're not giving your home address away. If you don't want to answer the phone call, let it go to voicemail. You can call the person back. If you get an email that you don't think is appropriate, you can delete it, okay? They still don't know your address, where you live, so they're not going to show up at your front door. And remember, LinkedIn is a product that's used for and is predominantly used for and by professional business people. So it's not a place to go get a date. It's a job place. And people know that in general. So that's the first mistake that Rudolph has made, is he hasn't taken advantage of the space here. Second thing he's done is he's had a great career with Pepsi. I mean, I was with Pepsi for 10 years. How this young man has managed to stay there for 12 years, hats off to the guy. He's doing a great job. And he's moved around. He was in Chicago. He went out to Denver. He's been in Denver for a while. So he's a very successful salesperson. He is open to new opportunities, as I said, but he hasn't taken the opportunity to tell us a lot about what he did and what he accomplished here as a senior director of sales. Again, great opportunity to put keywords in there, keywords that as a recruiter I might search for. In the consumer packaged goods business, it could be direct store delivery. He could put in, all kinds of acronyms that would differentiate him and would make it maybe more attractive to a recruiter than what he's presently got out there. He's not a job jumper. He went to the University of Wisconsin. I don't know what year, but let's just say that if I wanted to figure out his age, he's been with Pepsi for 12 years. So he's somewhere probably around 34, 35 years old, unless he's got a bunch of other stuff that he did prior to Pepsi that he's not decided to share with us, okay? And that happens. Some people don't fill out their profiles all that well. So let's say I don't know about Rudolph. I don't know if he's a candidate that I really want to talk to, but you know what? I like the guy, so I'm going to send him a message. So this is where I've got the ability to click on here. I've got all kinds of templates out there for jobs that I'm working on. And then I can click on a template and I can shoot a note to somebody, just boom, populates it. I put in their first name, I hit send, and it's a really easy way to communicate with candidates, okay? So super easy tool. But if you're actively looking and you've given me your email address and your phone number, I'm going to pick up the phone and call you. Okay. And that's why by putting your contact information in there, you're going to accelerate yourself to the top of the class because believe it or not, so LinkedIn tracks me as a recruiter as well as how many people messages I send, and they track how many people reply to my messages. And depending on my performance, that determines how many in-mails I can send in a given month. I've been using LinkedIn Recruiter for 7 or 8 years now. And I don't think there's ever been a month that that I've been declined sending in-mails to candidates. So all that tells or shares with you is that the average reply rate in LinkedIn, candidates replying to recruiters, replying to messages, is somewhere in this number that I'm going to throw to you, and you're going to think that I'm crazy, is somewhere in the 8 to 9% category. Okay. So very, very few people reply to recruiters and people through LinkedIn. So that's all the more reason, if I've got your contact information, you're going to go to the head of the class. Thankfully in LinkedIn, I've got a much higher rate of return. So somewhere in the category of 17 to 19% of the people that I send messages to reply to my messages. But keep in mind, I send 100 messages out. That's only 17, 18, 19 people that are getting back to me. So I'm missing a lot of people. Again, the reason, if you're actively looking, give me your contact information in your summary section, okay? So those are some things that stand out as in this particular young man's profile. He's got some honors and accomplishments there. These are people that he's interested in, he's following. In this particular case, no real interest of me there. But another way that I can reach this young man is there's 38 people that are connected to me that are connected to him. So there are times that I will go to Stuart and say, Stuart, you and I are connected. I don't know Stuart well. I can copy his email address. I can send him a note. He's with Pepsi, so better be careful. I'm trying to get a hold of one of his, employees, could be one of his bosses. Who knows? And I can send a note to Stuart and say, hey, Stuart, I'm trying to get a hold of Rudolph. Do you have a contact information? I'm running this benefit up in Chicago or over in Chicago, and I know he lives in Denver now, but he may have some contacts for me. Ultimately, I'm trying to recruit him for a job, but I don't want to tell one of his coworkers that. So, there's all kinds of ways of trying to get people's information through LinkedIn, and we use all of that all the time. Okay. So let's close out of Stuart. Whoop. Let's go back to let's go back to recruiter. What happened there?
While you're reloading, we've got a couple questions. Rich asked, for your last job, when should this be updated? Does it help to be seen as employed versus unemployed if the last job stopped a few months ago?
No, I mean, you're not going to be able to hide it for very long. So, you can continue to put present on there for, 4 or 5 more months. But at some point, you're going to have to fess up and tell that company or somebody else that you are actively looking and that job ended and this is why it ended. So I don't think there's a right answer. Certainly people hate to put that fact in there that they're actively looking, but if you put the wreath around your head, you got your contact information in there, you're pretty much telling everybody anyway. So nothing wrong with putting in that you were in that organization from this date until, February 21st, 2023.
People always ask, what do you do for a current job if you're not employed? And here's what I tell them. Create a new job, put in 2 or 3 job titles that you would like to hold, whatever those titles are.
Yep.
The company name, put your email address and your phone number, and then list 3 or 4 bullet points to tell people what it is you've done with some, with some results and some keywords that, and then the very last bullet point would say, open to new opportunities. And people are going to realize that you're looking for something new. Here's what you're looking for. That gets you a current job. When you do become employed, you can just delete that off your profile and keep on going.
Yep. That's a great way to do it. What other questions you got?
Next one here. See, Blake asked, and I'm not really sure, is there a way to repost the reef if it's been up for a few months to still let your network know you're looking? I mean, once it's on, it's on. I don't think it's not a matter of turning it off, turning it back on. That's not really going to change anything. I think what you probably want to do is send a message out to all your contacts, or put a post out there telling people that here's what you're looking for, that you're excited about a new opportunity, here's what you're looking to do, because that may generate more activity with people who are following you.
Yep. No, you're spot on. And Jeff, this might be a good time. And Blake, I want to come back to that. Is there another question?
Let's see here. Sharon says, if we have director of sales rather than sales director, are you saying the search will not pick?
Yes, it will not
list
pick.
Both.
That's right. Yep.
And Blake also asked, should we add experience that's 25 to 30 years old?
Yeah. So, at some point you can cut off in LinkedIn, putting what you did 25 years ago. Some people put earlier experience, and they might list a couple of companies that they were with, and they don't give the years. But if you're doing it as a way to hide your age, you're never going to hide it. At some point, you're going to get in front of this company, and they're going to see that you got gray hair, you're old, and you just can't hide it. So you can only do so much, but both of those work. Blake, one of the things I wanted to go back on is that LinkedIn used to, and I think this is in some regards his question, LinkedIn used to update your network. So if you went in and updated your profile, they would send a note to everybody that you were connected with that says, Kurt just updated his profile. Okay. And I think that early on in the early adapters, that was when people were going in, and the reason that they were updating their profile was predominantly because they got a new job. It wasn't that they were just doing some cleanup and landscaping. They were they were in there because they got a new job. And that was a way for LinkedIn to generate activity and momentum, but that doesn't happen anymore. So I think that what I'd like to do is just take a break here for a minute and give everybody on this call a suggestion for a tool that I highly recommend. And it's not something you can go buy on the internet, but it's called the prayer letter. And this brings up a really good point. For you those of you that are on the call today that are actively looking for a new job, and you might have been actively looking for 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, I don't care. If you're not doing what I'm going to suggest here, I highly encourage you to buy into this philosophy and take it as a way to refresh your search. But the bottom line is that there's a couple of steps to what I'm going to talk about. The prayer letter is first and foremost about activating your network. So everybody on this call, I want you to go away and I want you to go home and start an Excel spreadsheet and make a list of everybody that you work for, everybody that you work with, everybody that's called on you, people that you met on airplanes, people that you met at conventions, people that you met in business. And I want you to make a list of everybody that's on that list. Gather their email addresses and their phone numbers, and then literally take 30 days, activate your network. By that, I mean, I want you to call every one of those people. Hey, Jack, this is Blake. You and I worked together a number of years ago, and I really enjoyed working with you. I've always held our relationship as top priority. I'm actively looking for a new opportunity, and I just wanted to give you an update of what that looked like in the event that you knew somebody that I should be talking to. That's a voice message. If you get the person live, even better. You can talk through them what you're doing. But the bottom line is you want to activate your network, and you want to let everybody know via personal conversations, not email messages, not text messages, that you're actively looking. After you do that, you need to keep that network updated on a monthly basis as far as what's going on in your career, because you all have been in this position before, okay? You've been in this role where you have got a job, people call you to try to get to talk to you about their career because they're actively looking, and you're too busy. You're trying to get home on Friday so you can get to your kid's soccer game. At the same time, you're trying to figure out where you're going to take your wife for dinner on Saturday. And the in-laws are showing up Sunday at noon, and you're leaving town on Monday, and you're just juggling a lot of balls. On the way to soccer, you got a flat tire, added a whole lot of complexity to it. You've all been in these stressful situations where you don't have time to help other people. And that's why it's absolutely critical that once you have that first conversation, that the prayer letter kicks in. The prayer letter is this now. You have, you've got all these email addresses, okay? And you gather all those email addresses and you put them into a BCC. And every month, whether it's the first of the month, the 15th of the month, or the last of the month, I don't care when you do it, you send out a note to everybody, no twos, no CCs. And then it says something like this in the subject line: great people know great people. First of all, you've all heard the prayer letter, right? Read this prayer 10 times, send it to 10 people in 10 minutes, or you're going to die and go to hell, okay? Well, in the job search world, it says this: great people know great people. You know, they know what's going on because you just talked to them a month ago. I continue to look for new opportunities. I continue to conduct my search. I'm actively looking for contacts, introductions to these 3 companies. And you give them a list of those 3 companies. Who are the companies that you're trying to get an introduction to? If you or somebody in your network has contacts within these companies, I would greatly appreciate an introduction. Feel free to forward this message on to anybody in your network. And if there's anything that I can do for you or anybody in your network, don't ever hesitate to call. I'll be back in touch in 30 days. Okay. So that message helps accelerate your search because you've got 100, 200, 300 people that you know that every month they're getting this note and they're actively thinking and working for you. You may not. The first month you send it out, you may get 40 notes back. Sorry to hear that. Gosh, I don't have anything now. And the number of replies every month may go down, but the quality of replies that you get are going to go way up. Because if you keep sending that note month after month, 3rd month, 4th month, 4th month, you're going to get calls from people that say, hey, I continue to get your messages. I hadn't had anything, but I just had dinner with my old college roommate, and he's now the CEO of this, and they're looking for somebody just like you. Are you still looking? Can I send them your resume, or can I make an introduction now? So again, for those of you that aren't salespeople, you may feel really uncomfortable with this technology and the suggestions, but if you feel uncomfortable with it, go talk to Jeff and he'll walk you off the ledge. Go talk to somebody that's a salesperson or a marketing person, and they'll tell you that what I'm suggesting is not crazy and it will help accelerate your search. So highly recommend that you do that. That's better and easier than going into LinkedIn every month and trying to send messages to everybody saying, hey, I continue to look for new opportunities. Now, as you are searching for new opportunities, absolutely. You're trying to get into Pepsi and you pull up a list of everybody that you know that worked at Pepsi. You want to reach out to every one of those people that you possibly can as quickly as you can, because there are opportunities there that you want to be engaged in, and somebody's likely to have a connection with a hiring manager or somebody in HR that can help accelerate your conversation. So at different times, you want to use LinkedIn for that. But if you're not actively using the tool that I just described, I highly encourage you to go home, start this process, and pick a date. By the end of March, I'm going to make all those phone calls. And then April 1st, I'm going to start sending out my prayer letter. But I guarantee it'll help accelerate everything that you're doing. How are we doing on time?
I took you, we've got about 10 minutes. I took your share windows. I was showing them the prayer letter. I did put that in the comment field in the chat window, so anybody should be able to download that document.
Yep. And Blake just asked a question. Can you put in industries? Absolutely. But here's the thought process, Blake, of using target companies is that, so I use an example of, and it's a live example, but you know, somebody might put in American Airlines. Okay. Well, that's a pretty well-known brand. So the hope is that when that executive sees that note, they say, American Airlines, I don't know of any American, but I know the CEO over at Southwest Airlines. Is that an introduction that you would like? So you're generally doing industries by giving them big companies. Now, in the case that you're giving them companies, or you're putting companies in there that are small, niche, and so forth, then putting in an industry and 3 companies would be a very smart way to give everybody insight into the kind of company that you're looking for.
And I think by giving somebody company names, I've been in the Friday group that I run, people will say, I'm looking for a job in North Plano. Well, nobody's ever going to think about a company in North Plano. But if you give me a company name, it's like, wait, let me go see if I have that LinkedIn connection. Maybe I can help.
That's right, 100%. And geographic doesn't work anymore. I mean, I will tell you that when I first started the search business in Dallas, for instance, you really never had to ask anybody where they lived. But today, if I'm recruiting for a company, that's one of the first things I ask is, where are you and your family living right now? Oh, you're in Mansfield. This opportunity is over in Rockwell. I don't think that that's going to be a commute that you're willing to make. But I could be wrong. What are your thoughts? No, we own a home. Our kids are embedded in school, and that just won't work. So I'm sorry, but if something changes, I'll let you know. Or they might come back and say, we're empty nesters and we're renting right now, and moving over to Rockwell would be super easy. I've never thought about living in Rockwell, but let's go for it. So, throwing out locations from a recruiter perspective is really important early in the process to determine whether the candidate's willing to make that drive or that commute.
Right. Can you show us, can we go look at one more profile? Can you share your
Sure
screen again? And
so let's go down. I love Kurt just because he's got a great name, but let's see if we can find somebody that is.
You're going to need to share your screen again.
Oh, got it. Hold on. Okay. So I said this guy up at the top, Kurt. I like Kurt just because he's got a great name. Kurt Weber's a great guy just because he's got a great name. But I was going to try. Okay, so here's David. Okay, he's actively looking because he's got the green wreath. Okay, so let's see what David's profile looks like. Okay, he's done a really good job of giving us a much broader summary. Okay, so I can see less of summary. I can see more summary. Let's go up to the top. So he's a regional director of the Arsenal Brewing Ventures. Don't really know what that is, but we're going to learn about it really quickly here. He's bilingual. That's really important. One of the key words. Sometimes we're searching for bilingual. Sometimes we put in Spanish. So anyway, if you're bilingual, that you can put that in there, that's going to be a huge advantage. He's given us a whole list of sales set specialties: Salesforce management, national account management, wholesale management, inventory control, brand building. Really nice job of giving us a lot of information about the different titles and the different areas. This is going to help him immensely as recruiters put in keywords. So very smart on his part to do that. He has given us his contact information. So he didn't give us his phone number, but man, I'm not connected to him. If I want to talk to this guy, he's really made it easy. So again, smart man by putting that contact information in there. He's not taking advantage of what he's in his accomplishment as a sales director. I don't really know what his accomplishments were. So if I were to coach him, I would say that would be one area that he could make some improvements. But let's say at the beginning, I wasn't familiar with what this Arsenal Brewing Ventures is. So I have the ability to go right here and click on it. And LinkedIn tells me exactly. They've got about 393 employees on LinkedIn. They are a food and beverage retail in Charlotte, North Carolina. So let's close all these boxes up here. It gives me a little bit more information about what they do and so forth. Okay. But he's living in Denver. So they're headquartered.
Headquarters in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yeah, exactly. So that could be why he's looking for a new job. Who knows? But the bottom line is he hasn't given us a lot of color on what he did. That would be a way for him to make some major improvements into his profile, is to give us more color into those roles there. Same all the way down. I don't know how old this guy is. I could see a picture of him, but he's got some solid experience. I don't know what the Gambrius company is. Let's look at that just for curiosity. I'm always trying to learn. Food and beverage services out of San Antonio. So another beer company. I didn't realize that that's what they were, that name of it. Went to the University of Mexico. So a solid candidate, and done a really good job of actually giving us the contact information. He could do a little bit more in his summary, but if I were to rate this, I'd certainly give him an A for effort on his profile. He's probably getting a lot of phone calls and he's getting a lot of activity, I would guess.
Can you leave that back up the top for just a second? I want to point out to everybody, if David had gone into his contact information and put in an email and a phone number, Kurt would have been able to see it right here, not had to go into the summary statement. So it's real important that you put it in both places if you can.
Yep. Yeah. So that's how recruiters use this product. We move through this stuff really, really quickly. I'm going to go back to history and just pull this search back up. But again, depending on what I'm looking for, I can see really quickly, the candidates that I want to talk to. I can click on them here and I can send group messages to them, message everybody one time. I can save them to projects. I can add a note to them. I can tag them. I can save their profiles to a PDF. Okay. So there's a lot of different things as a recruiter that I can use this for, and I can buzz through this really, really quickly to identify whether or not this is a candidate or a candidate that I want to talk to. Now, keep in mind that in my particular job, I'm trying to cast as big a net as I can. We only have in this market, what do we say?
222, I believe.
Yeah, 222 people in this particular project that we can talk to. So I may talk to people that aren't a sales director. And one guy I showed was, senior vice president. He's probably Kurt's well above my pay grade for the sales director role that I'm trying to fill. Likely he's making 150,000 and I only got a budget of 125,000. He's probably in a bonus of 25 to 40%, and I've only got a 20% bonus. So Kurt may not be a candidate, but I want to talk to Kurt because maybe Kurt knows somebody that I should know.
Right.
So I never exclude candidates. My message is going to be a little bit different. Kurt, I know this opportunity is probably a little junior to your background, but I trust that you've got an amazing network in the Denver area, and you may be able to introduce me to people that I'm not finding on my own. Can we chat for 6 minutes?
All right,
Okay.
We got two quick questions, and then we're going to have to end it because we're at the top of the hour. Should we see? Is there logic to how LinkedIn ranks candidates that are presented to you?
I don't know that I've ever been able to figure that out, Jeff. You've always had a better answer than I have. As far as how they rank, who shows up on the first page versus the 19th page. And I don't know that I have a clear answer to the algorithm that they're using to give me those candidates.
My understanding is it's the better if you're active on LinkedIn, if you have a current job, it moves you up. That's why you need to put in that fake job to have a current job. And it's keyword matches. It's just like an ATS system. It's matching up keywords, job titles. If you put any search terms, it's having those terms in there 3 to 5 times, which will make a big difference so you can show up.
Yep.
The other question Blake asked, should we add salary ranges that we would accept?
No, I keep salary out of it, guys. And the reason is because I talked to you about this candidate that I spent a few minutes with this morning. And this candidate was, let's say that their salary was $250,000. And in the meeting, they indicated that they've lowered their acceptance down to 150 to 180,000. I think that's crazy. Okay. If you were making $250,000 and you get a job offer for $150,000, how likely are you going to stay at that company for a long period of time? So I think that to be a part of fit, it's got to be culture, but it's got to be salary and everything else. So I try to keep salary conversations out of it until they're necessary. Now, with that said, Jeff, and I'm going to give you one piece that candidates hate. When I screen candidates, one of the first questions I do ask is salary, okay? Because I do have a restriction as a recruiter of what they're willing to pay. And so I've got other recruiter friends that spend 2 hours with a candidate, and then they'll say at the end, so give me an idea what's your salary range. Well, I'm making 250 with a 25% or 30% bonus, okay? If I'm working for a company that's only got $125,000 to spend, I didn't waste an hour, 2 hours because I just got to know somebody really well, but that candidate's not going to be a job candidate for this job. So candidates hate it, but every time I start a conversation, it's give me an idea what's going on in your career. Why are you actively looking? Are you actively looking or you're passively looking? And give me an idea what your salary range is right now. Because if you're way up there, then I don't have the money and I'm never going to have the money. And it's just going to be a waste of our time to talk more about that role. Make sense?
Yep, it does. Well, Kurt, thank you very much for your time. I know it's very precious, and we appreciate you sharing your words of wisdom with us today.
Not a problem. Enjoy it every day. Jeff, for you, this guy's amazing. Everybody spread the word. The work that Jeff does in our community and around the country is just amazing. So thank you for listening today, and y'all have a blessed day.
Kurt, thank you very, very much. All right, Amy, I know you've got a question here. I'll answer it here in just a second. So if you want to hang on, I'll answer it. Let me get through these few slides for those people who want to jump off. Next Tuesday, LinkedIn, Present Yourself Like a Pro. I'll be doing a presentation. You're welcome to watch it. It'll be out on the emails that are going out next week. All right, I need everybody on LinkedIn to please everybody's on the call, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Jeff Morris, promise to always send a personal note whenever I send a LinkedIn request to anyone. This includes when I use my cell phone or my computer. Kurt didn't mention this, but when you're on LinkedIn looking at people's profiles, you will find a white connect button. Do not click on the white connect button. If you see a white connect button, click on the person's face, then go to the blue connect button, and then you can always send them a personal note. Personally, I don't connect with anybody who doesn't send me a personal note because I don't know why we should connect. So please send me that personal note. It'd really be appreciated. Career FW, Career USA, we're putting on training 4 days a week. Please join us tomorrow. The practice interview team, starting tomorrow on the 1st and 3rd Wednesdays of the month, they will be meeting in person. So put on your pants, get dressed, come out, meet people. It'll be a great networking opportunity. We'll have, I think we have a candidate tomorrow. We're actually going to be interviewing in person. So please, welcome to come join us. There'll be no online or Zoom presentation tomorrow. So you do need to watch it in person. We're at Christ United Methodist Church, 3101 Coit Road, Plano, Texas. That's at the corner of Parker and Coit in Plano. Park in the north parking lot and then just look for the signs when you're walking in the door, and we'll get you upstairs to room N255. This Thursday, being the first Thursday of the month, we're going to talk all about effective resumes. So we'll share best practices, and then if anybody would like to volunteer their resume, we'll be glad to take a look at their draft resume. We'd ask that you take your header information off, that takes your phone number, email address, and LinkedIn stuff off because it will be shared on LinkedIn and Facebook. This Friday at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group meeting, it will be on Zoom only. There's no in-person this week. So it will be open forum. Ask whatever questions you have about your job search. I actually won't be on the call. Walt Glass will be running the session. I'm gonna be leaving town, so you'll be able to. We'll have open forum. It'll be on Zoom only this Friday. If you'd like to join the Career FW or Career USA LinkedIn groups, you're welcome to join one or both. You do not need to live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area to join the Career DFW group. We currently have over 14,600 members in the Career DFW group. And I will tell you that probably 1 out of 15 people are recruiters. They're recruiters who are not paying the full-blown, they're not paying $500 to $1,000 a month to use the recruiting package on LinkedIn. They're just using LinkedIn to see who they can find by joining groups. So, you know, get on LinkedIn, be sure your profile is really, really complete. This session has been recorded. It will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel. If you go to the YouTube channel, just type in Career USA and then click on playlist. I've got over 420 videos on there. If you click on playlist, it cuts it down to 7 different playlists. You can look on LinkedIn at the very bottom where it says view full playlist, click there, and then up will come a list of the different titles and dates and topics of when we've talked about everything. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops, please join the Career USA mailing list. Just send an email to Career USA, the + subscribe at groups.io. If you know somebody who's unemployed, let them know about Career DFW. Let them know about the free resources that are on the Career USA and Career DFW websites and our free workshops. Totally free. We don't collect any personal information. We're just here to help you. Please remember, Career DFW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Kurt was a volunteer. All of our speakers are volunteers. I'm a volunteer. Everything I've done over the last 14 years has just been to help you land your next great opportunity. So thank you very much for joining us today. Let me answer that question for Amy here. She talked about, can you mention a creative way to add a job? So if you're currently unemployed and you have no current job, create a new job, just like you're adding a new job. For the job title, put in 2 or 3 job titles that you want. Okay, production manager, project manager, whatever it is. Then in the company name, put your email address and your phone number. Now, a lot of women don't like to put the phone number on LinkedIn, but by putting your phone number on there, if you don't want to do that, get a Google Voice number. That way you're protecting your local cell phone number. But if you can put both, like Kurt said, if he sees a phone number, he's going to pick up the phone and call you. That's the first thing he wants to do. Most recruiters, that's what they want to do. And then for the description of your job, you want to list 2 or 3 bullet points with key results that you've had that would tell me that for the job titles you listed, here are some results. Here's how I can help your company. And then the last bullet point I always like to add is, looking for new opportunities. How can I help your company? Feel free to reach out to me. Here's my email and phone number again. You can list those. You can list that again. So that's what I recommend for a current job. Then when you get that current job, just delete it. Or when you get that next job, delete it. It won't be on there. But that's a way to get a current thing. And it's also a way to get some more keywords in, telling people job titles and skills that you've got and results. And remember, every bullet point you have on your resume needs to have results. You need to tell me what you can do for me. Don't let it read like a job description. So good luck to everybody. And hopefully we will see you later in the week. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow in person. If we don't see you tomorrow in person, come join us Thursday for Effective Resume Thursday.